So this is not a political show. I don't want to get into politics here. This isn't a place where we come to talk politics. You're here to listen to my sports takes and tell me why you think I'm an idiot, not to listen to my politics and tell me why you think I'm an idiot. But when politicians start to involve themselves in the world of sports, sometimes you force me to talk about you. I don't want to talk about Ron DeSantis. I don't want to tell you how I feel about Ron DeSantis. I don't want to tell you whether I'm voting for him, whether I'm not voting for him. I don't want to tell you who I voted for in the last election. I don't want to tell you who I voted for in the election before that. I don't want to tell you who I'm planning to vote for in the next election. This isn't a political show. If it was a political show, maybe you'd hear a little bit more about how I feel about those things. I stay away from throwing those things in your face. Instead, I bring you sports. Every now and then people will drop weird comments where they'll make it political, even though the sports take had nothing to do with politics. Somebody watched my Deshaun Watson video and went on this whole weird Trump rant that had nothing to do with anything we talked about in the video. I try to avoid those things. When Ron DeSantis comes out and says, hey, we need to put some money in the budget so we can get $1 million to sue the College Football Playoff Committee for not including Florida State University in the college football playoffs. All right, now I got to talk about Ron DeSantis. Now you're making me do it, Ron. I didn't want to talk about you. I'm still not going to talk about you politically, about where I feel one way or the other on that. But what I do want to say is, like, don't you have bigger things to worry about than the college football playoffs? I don't. I'm a total bum. I make sports videos, dude, and it's all those talking heads on ESPN. They're the ones that will talk about, what needs to be done as far as a team that should be in the college football playoffs, not being in the college football playoffs. We all know the obvious things that everyone else has said. You don't really need me to regurgitate it. Look, Florida State, first of all, you need to win the Orange Bowl. You need to beat Georgia. Because if you don't beat Georgia, then you just proved that you don't actually belong in the college football playoffs because you're actually ranked higher than Georgia, right? Florida State's 5, Georgia's 6. Now, if Florida State wins that game, then Florida State needs to do what UCF did a few years ago. They should go and hang a national championship banner. They should declare themselves national champions for this year. They should do a parade. And all of next season, all I ask is this. All of next season, every time that those coaches or those staff or anybody involved is in an interview, I want them to start their answer with, as defending national champions, yada, yada, yada. How do you feel about the team this year? Well, as defending national champions, I think that you got to remember what it took to win a championship last year and what we put into. I want those types of answers because I want you to throw it in the face of the College Football Playoff Committee that they got this wrong. That's what I want to happen. If you beat Georgia. If you don't beat Georgia, you got no case. What's the Ron DeSantis piece of this? Why are you, Ron, coming out and talking about putting money away to sue the College Football Playoff Committee? First of all, something that's never been done before. Like, no one's ever sued the committee just because the committee ruled in a way that they didn't like. Now, I disagree strongly with the committee's decision. I think that, you know what? Florida State played 13 games and they won 13 games. They played other opponents that were considered Power 5 conference opponents, and they won those games. Florida State won all of the games on the field. How do you come into the week ranked number 4? So you're in the college football playoffs. You win your game by 2 possessions, mind you, and then you get kicked out of the playoffs after you won? How does that make any sense whatsoever? And look, I got it. The SEC champs, that's a big deal. They did win the game. It's fine to not have an SEC team in the college football playoffs because at the end of the day, Texas did beat them. So Texas kind of belongs in. Bama belongs out. Florida State belongs in. I could have gotten my head around you justifying, it was like week 2? It was a week 2 loss to Texas. It was a double-digit loss by Alabama to Texas, but it was a week 2 loss. I could get my head around you going, no, Texas is actually out. Bama's in at number 4. Florida State moves up to 3, and then the same 1 and 2 is Michigan and Washington. I could get my head around that, Whether it was going to be Bama or Texas for that last spot, it should be Texas in my opinion. But if you wanted to go Bama, I could see that too. The part that makes no sense to me whatsoever is having a 13-0 Power 5 conference winning team and they're excluded from the college football playoffs. Having said that, Ron DeSantis, maybe worry about running for president. I think in the last polls, you're still losing to Donald Trump. Worry about running for president. Don't worry about the college football playoffs. Let morons like me talk about that. You're trying out for a way more important job than sports commentator. Don't be a sports commentator, dude. My real issue isn't that Ron DeSantis commented on sports. That's kind of misleading. I don't care about that. Everybody comments on sports. Everyone has an opinion. I welcome every single opinion. I'm an idiot with a YouTube channel. You know, like why does my opinion matter? It doesn't, for the record. My opinion means no more or less than yours. All these talking heads on ESPN, their opinion doesn't matter any more or less than your opinion. As much as they love to pretend that their opinion suddenly means more because, oh, I've been in sports journalism for all these years and I did this and this. No, your opinion is still your opinion. You might be a better researcher and maybe that's why we listen and buy into your opinion, but, you know, your opinion is still just an opinion. It doesn't mean anything more than mine, you know? DeSantis can give his opinion as much as he wants. And when he starts talking about sports opinions with the authority of a government entity. And what I mean by that is when he's talking about sports opinion with, hey, I'm going to fund this, or we're going to find funding for this. We're going to put taxpayer dollars into this. No, taxpayer dollars don't need to go into suing the college football playoff committee. They don't. I'm sorry. That's not something the taxpayers want to pay for. You know, if the university wants to take it upon themselves to do that, you know, with their own private funds, as in not, you know, no federal funds or anything like that. Okay, fine. Like I don't care. That's up to them to decide how they spend their money. Yeah, taxpayers don't want to take on that fight. By the way, it's a pointless fight too. Like, you think that if you win suing the college football playoff committee, what do you think happens? Like, do they just go, oh, okay, you're right. Florida State University, you can be the national champions now all of a sudden. No, all that happens is that it might write a check to Florida State University if they were found guilty of something, but they wouldn't be. Everybody who's in the NCAA, they're all in the same agreements, and the agreement is basically that the way we determine the playoffs is that we have a committee that makes the decision. Whether you like the decision or not, doesn't matter. There's a committee that makes the decision. We all agreed to this when we came into the NCAA together. You know, don't like it, go create your own little football association and see how that goes. That's what I actually take issue with the DeSantis piece of this. Is I take issue with like him talking like he's going to commit resources, which by the way he's not going to. Like, let's be honest. You're really gonna waste time from your political campaign to go and try and fight for a college just because he said, like, oh yeah, my kids are Florida State fans. Like, so because your kids are fans of a team, that's what you're gonna do as the president of the United States? That's what you're running on is, hey, I'm gonna stick up for the teams that my kids like. Like, all right, well, let's find out all the teams that your kids like, and then we'll decide whether we're gonna vote for you. Because, like, if your kids are Yankees fans, then I imagine a lot of the country is not going to vote for you because you're going to help the Yankees, right? Like, is that what you're worried about, Ron? But that's just my wacky, dumb opinion. I mean, I'm entitled to it, right? And I'd love to hear your much smarter opinions in the comment section below. Do you think that DeSantis is right to try to fund suing the college football playoff committee? It even sounds ridiculous coming out of my mouth, but I don't know, maybe you've got a stance on this that I haven't thought about. Maybe there's some tax benefits here somewhere that I'm not aware of. You're probably smarter than me. So I would love to get your comments below. Please remember to like and subscribe to The Very Best Podcast, the podcast where we are the very best at absolutely nothing and everything. Later.